It's been ages because, mostly because of the school year being busy and I wasn't reading, so what was I going to talk to you about? Not for fun, anyway. And also, oops, sorry, I need to, oops. I forgot I needed to tell you that I read this. Yeah, okay. Anyway, so all that to say, it was super busy, and also, Mac computers just recently, your operating system was updated, and when it got updated, the camera on my computer, the one that I normally use that connects to my editing program, is no longer being recognized. So I have to do it on my iPhone, transfer it over, and for a while there, it wasn't transferring for whatever reason. So all that to say, there were a lot of reasons that I didn't do this, but I have read books. More recently, in the last couple of months, it always helps my brain. It always helps me relax a little bit because the spring is really insane in school. So I wanted to do a quick wrap up of April, May, and we're halfway through June. We're halfway through June. Oh boy, I don't have all the books to show you because a couple of them were library books or borrowed from people. And I have reviews for some of them already written on my blog, which I will link below, and I'll let you know. And some of them I might not review at all because, just whatever. So one of the things, I did read a book called Going Vintage by Lindsay Leavitt, which was borrowed from my school library. That does have a review. I'm going to link it down here. It was about a girl who finds out her boyfriend's cheating on her cyberly, through one of these sites with another girl from somewhere else, and she just goes well, she doesn't go mental, but she has a bit of a freak out and decides to shun technology for a while as an experiment. Her name's Mallory, and it's a really cute premise, and I thought it dealt with some really interesting issues. Not that technology is all bad, but sort of the things that come, the bad things that come with technology. The social networking sites where whatever you say is permanent and everyone can see it. Back in my day, I would vent to my friends on the phone or, in person, and then it was done. It wasn't put out there in the ether for everyone to see and to be, somewhat permanent, which is an issue. But at the same time, it's nice to have a place to sort of vent publicly. And that's why people have blogs. It's got a couple of interesting subplots. I believe that this girl is the kind of girl who would do something like that, I'm going to change my entire life for a couple of weeks, because she apparently had certain phases that she went through before. So she's an interesting girl. She's not just an observer. She participates. She's proactive, and that's kind of cool. So that's sort of the quick synopsis. I don't want to get too much in detail. You can read a blurb about it or read my review. But I think I gave it 4 stars. It was fun. I don't know if I'd ever read it again. I would, maybe recommend it to one of my students. But yeah, it was good. I'd read other stuff by the author. The other thing I finally finished, is The Theory of Everything by Carrie Luna. And I also have a review of that on the same link as the one I did of Going Vintage. This is an excellent book. It is an interesting idea. I believe that the audience would be hard to find for this. And I believe that's what I thought when I read it as a manuscript. She's the character is very much into 80s music and only using cassettes and using vinyl and things like that. So it's very much the hipster idea that, as it was invented, I guess, in the late 90s with Perks of Being a Wallflower, but she's not a hipster. I mean, there's reasons for why she kind of wears the things that she wears and listens and the hobbies that she has and things like that. It makes sense for her character, but I could see someone getting put off from that. But it is a really, really good book, and it deals with a lot of interesting issues in a very interesting way, and I don't want to go into it much more because I don't want to give away stuff. But it did take me a long time to read it, so, it's good, but it's a hard sell, I think. And I also have more in my review in the about format, whatever that is called. Okay, so I read that. The other thing I read was for school, in teaching and stuff like that. I read Tale of Two Cities, which the first time I read it, I was in 9th grade, and we read it in class. And I remembered it, though. It's one of the few Dickens I've actually gotten through because Dickens is wordy. So wordy. I think he was even wordy by standards of his own day, and now in modern times, he's ridiculous. My students, we're not going to go into their response to it. We'll talk about mine. I remember really, really liking the story from 9th grade, and then in rereading it for school and teaching with my students and trying to help them get through it, I still really, really like this story. The foreshadowing, his use of literary devices, and then just in general the story and the element of sacrifice and love in this background of the French Revolution. It's still really, really good. It's just really, really large, and there's a lot of words. And my goal, because I'm going to teach it again next year for my honor students, is to figure out a better way of presenting it, because it didn't go so well this time. Yeah, but still excellent book. I don't know, you should read it. It's just understand that there's a lot of words, and if you don't always understand it, that's okay. Just keep going. It eventually makes sense. I recently took a trip. I went back to Rockford, Illinois to see my first group of students that I had for 2 years graduate from high school. They're all grown up now, and they didn't know I was coming, so it was a big surprise, and that was super cool. But on the plane, I'd started it the week before, but with school ending, things were insane. I read Katie McGarry's 4th book. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of better if I do that. Oh yeah, that doesn't work. Anyway, it's called Take Me On. Take Me On. Sorry, get the song. Take on me, take on me, take me on. Whatever. Anyway, it's her 4th novel, and I also wrote a review about that, which I will link below. Suffice to say, I can't tell if it's the book or it's my personal response and how I'm feeling. Because sometimes books are good and they hit you at the wrong point. Just like sometimes music doesn't get to you the right point. Like I'd heard the song Freebird a million times and thought, what's the big deal? And then one day I listened to it and got it. I'm still not going to yell it at concerts for people to play Freebird because I'm not that person. But, anyway, so I wrote a review about it. That's all I'm going to say. So my school does an all-school read, all high school, all middle school. The middle school, by the way, always reads better books for the summer. Whatever. Anyway, so the book that we had to read this year was The Case for Faith, the student edition by Lee Strobel with Jane Vogel. But anyway, Lee Strobel. You may have heard of The Case for Christ and The Case for Faith. I've never read the adult versions. And there was some interesting ideas in this. I did mark one passage about how your emotions and your faith aren't necessarily connected, which is very true. You know, it's nice to feel the spiritual high, and then when things go bad, doesn't mean that your faith is necessarily less or should be less or something. Anyway, it's good. I feel like some of my students might find it a bit patronizing in talk. Maybe not. I don't know. Could just be me. But hey, it's a short little book, and I finished it, so yeah. When I was in Chicago, Rockford area, I went to Printers Row. It was the 30th anniversary. I went last year, if you remember, to sell my book and have people sign it, which was pretty cool, and I bought tons of books then. This time, because I was flying, I didn't buy as many books, so be proud of me. But I did buy 3, because all 3 totally cost up to $8. And I couldn't help it. It was really hard. I bought 3 books, and they're all like from the 1960s covers, and they're classics, things that I haven't read yet that I really need to read. First one for $3, I bought William Golding's Lord of the Flies, which I have not read. I know. I'm a horrible, horrible English person, and I should be shamed forever. For $2, I don't know why it's just as big, I bought Ken Kesey's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which I've never seen the film, but I've wanted to because I really like Jack Nicholson. Hi, Margie. Jack Nicholson in Chinatown. So I've wanted to see One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, but I thought I'd read the book first, so ta-da! Pretty well known, The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells. Look how tiny it is. We need more tiny books so I can meet my Goodreads thing. Okay, so I bought those. I haven't read them yet, but hey, mini book haul. Very exciting. I I also read, which I don't have because I borrowed it from my friend and read it in like 24 hours, was the final Lock and Key graphic novel by Joe Hill and the illustrator who I can't remember, and I'm really, really sorry because I know you're super important. It's one of the few graphic novel series that I've ever paid attention to because I'm not a graphic novel person, not necessarily by choice, just by circumstance. And it is a little overwhelming when you go over to that section of the bookstore because there's just tons. Anyway, it finished. I hope to buy all of them because I've forgotten some things. It was a 6-volume series, Lock and Key, not for children. There are very adult themes in that, so please take that with a grain of salt. But it was really good, and in the final volume, there's totally a shout out to Joe Hill's father, Stephen King, that I really enjoyed. It made me smile, and I thought it was kind of cute. Okay, so, and then I read an entire book today because it is summer break, and I can do that. And I did read another YA novel. Give it another shot. This is very, very different, though, than Katie McGarry or Cora Carmack, who, though, is new adult. But anyway, I read The Name of the Star by Maureen Johnson. I got this over Christmas. My dad was offering to buy me books, and I bought this. I've always wanted to read Maureen Johnson because she's friends with, like, John Green and all these other, like, super popular YA authors. It's like there's whole little clique. I want to be part of that group. But that's okay. I will create my own group when I, sell lots of books. Basic idea is a girl from America decides for last year, her parents go on sabbatical in Bristol. She wants to go to a boarding school in London. Very different places, Bristol and London. And goes there, and then what happens while she's there is a lot of, there's some killings that seem very, very similar to Jack the Ripper, which this is in modern day, not Victorian, which for some reason when I read the back I thought it was Victorian. Anyway, and there's a paranormal element to it, and there's a little romance, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars, would possibly recommend to other people. I read some of the less than positive reviews on Goodreads because I find that the slightly more negative ones give specifics on why they didn't like it, as opposed to positive things that are just like, oh my gosh, the book is like so good, I loved it. I've had reviews like that, and nice they are, but you kind of want to learn as well. They're not super constructive, but that's okay. Sometimes I just get like that, like, oh my god, I love this book. I hope I don't use that voice. So I read some of the negative reviews, but I didn't agree with any of them. The things that people had problems with. Someone didn't like the sort of stereotyping of English teenagers. And I didn't think it was that insulting. And I understand that issue because the reason I don't like the Beautiful Creatures series or the Beautiful Creatures book, the first one that I only read like 100 pages of because I was so turned off after that, couldn't get through the movie either, was how they stereotyped the South and Southern towns. But this was an American girl, from her point of view, looking at English teenagers. And one of the things was that they like beans a lot. And that's true. England, you put beans on a lot of stuff, and it's very different than our baked beans. There's a different flavor about it, and I totally love it. I love beans on toast. I love beans with with a full English breakfast. But it would be unusual to an American. I don't know. I didn't find it as offensive as this person did, but I understand. And the other thing that people didn't like, and I found this really funny, was during one of the kissing makeout scenes, which I thought she did a really good job of and made me laugh. They're involved, and then someone interrupts them, and so they break away sort of suddenly. And the narrator, the main girl, Rory, mentions that there's a string of saliva between them, and that's gross. I get it, but it's really realistic, and it sort of takes the we're kissing, sort of element out of it. And I really enjoyed it because it kind of showed that she was sort of making out with this guy. She liked him, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I'm in love, and all that kind of stuff. It was, she's making out because it's really nice to make out. There's endorphins and hormones and all those things that you teenagers really like feeling. But somebody was really offended or really bothered by that. And I thought it was I thought it was really realistic because those kind of things do happen. Kissing isn't always pretty, especially when you're still learning how to do it. Wow, that's probably too much information. Anyway, that was kind of a long thing, but I recommend this. I think it's great. I look forward to the second book. The paranormal element is kind of cool. It's not necessarily like super unique, but it's not, I've seen this a million times before. So, name of the star, Maureen Johnson. Which I don't have because I borrowed. I read the $1,000 Tan Line? The Veronica Mars book that came out, which, by the way, that movie was awesome, and if you haven't watched the series, you should do it. By Rob Thomas and Jennifer somebody, who I think Rob Thomas probably came up with the story and the plot, and obviously the characters, and someone wrote it for him, which would be awesome. But anyway, it was really enjoyable. I probably won't write a book review about it because I read it really fast and I don't remember a whole lot. Just remembered enjoying it. So probably 3 stars because I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't be like, yes, you must read this, unless you're a Veronica Mars fan. And then, yeah, read it. It's not as good as Rob Thomas's, I was just going to use this as a prop, other book that I read a long time ago called Rats Saw God. This was brilliant. And look, also short. We should, writers, do more short books. I would get more of them. I'm a bit intimidated by the really large books. Okay? Alright, so that's done with the books that I have actually read. The books that I am reading at present. One of my book club books that's probably we're supposed to have read like 3 or 4 months ago, and I'm still working on. I'm like 35% of the way done with it. It's super British. It's called The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry by Rachel Joyce. And it's very good. I just can't read it really fast. So, yeah. And the other book I thought I would bring home, since apparently my YA time needs to be changed, I need to maybe read different types of books, is I started this about a year ago because I bought this book when I was in England and then stopped because, I don't know. But This Side of Paradise by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Was about 50 pages into it. Let's hope that I don't have to reread that because, yeah. I'm trying to catch up with my Goodreads challenge. 50 books in 1 year. You know how many I did last year? 70. And I'm 2 books behind. Yeah. So, that's what I'm going to read. I might grab another book. Maybe something lighter. I don't know. We'll see. I've got lots of stuff I can read. Maybe Invisible Man. So, that's my super long update. But I hope to do this a bit more now that I figured out my problems with my computer and hopefully can now fix them. I might do another video because I'm house sitting for my parents for a little over a week. I leave in a couple of days, and I'm going to bring my desktop computer because I'm hoping to get lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of writing done, and my desktop is the only one that has Scrivener, the Scrivener app, which I like using. I don't know, it gives me a different look on it, and sometimes you need that just to write. So I might have a different background. I might have a background of my parents' home, which is huge. It's just going to be me and my dog, though, and me collecting the mail and basically making sure that no one burns down the house, or I burn down the house. That would be bad, because I do believe that house might be my inheritance. So, until next time, if you have any suggestions of books I should read, especially since I seem to be put off by contemporary romance at the moment, YA contemporary, or YA and new adult contemporary romance, it seems to be something that's just making me not. Feel free to comment. You know, thumbs up if you missed me. I missed you guys. I know, it's been ages. And here I'm giving you a super long video just because you really wanted it. Alright, talk to you next time. I promise there'll be a next time before 7 months have gone by, or however many months. Oh, by the way, that sound is totally my dog chewing on a bone. Peace out.